Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Emergent Gamer Podcast, episode 256. And we have kind of a very in-depth special episode for you here tonight. We're going to kind of avoid some of the daily catch-up that you guys probably like and address some very, very massive situations and issues happening in the gaming industry. First off, I am Trip Zero. Down below me, we've got Felix Hergood.
Hey, what's up?
We've got Lock and Key.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And we've got Neo Ayoshi.
How you doing?
Squad is all here, guys. How are you? It's been a fucking roller coaster of a week.
Hell of a week.
What a week. I can't believe it.
It's been nuts, man. If you guys do not know, listening out there, starting late Friday, early Saturday, a massive wave of sexual harassment and abuse allegations went out throughout the entire gaming space. Starting right in our backyard, specifically with the Destiny 2 community. And it has snowballed because of those individuals that came out into this massive, massive wave of potentially industry-changing actions and behavior. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start.
I think hopefully is the word you're looking for there.
Hopefully, right. I put one of those qualifiers in there, that potentially, hopefully. Definitely,
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to unpack kind of the start of this, and then kind of summarize where it went from there. And then have a discussion around it, right? As Trip mentioned, like, this is, if you look into this, if you have not read any articles, if you've not seen it on your Twitter feeds or social media feeds, this is like dozens and dozens and dozens of accusations from different streamers, people within the industry, different gaming companies, different platforms. So this isn't something that we can go piece by piece and discuss. But we will be able to kind of summarize in the best way that we can to kind of shine a light on what has come out in less than a week or a week's time, right? It's been pretty crazy to see all of this kind of unfolding, especially to your point, Trip. It kind of happened in our own backyard of the Destiny 2 community is kind of where it stemmed from.
Yeah.
Coincidentally,
it's wild because usually this news, it finds you. You know, somehow, obviously, when news gets this big, essentially, it snowballs and then finds you. You can't help but avoid it. But when you follow all these people, when you've met these people, when you play with these people, you see the conversations happening in the moment. And then it really, really hits home that this is a big fucking thing happening. And it's wild.
Yeah. It's crazy. I check Twitter every night in bed before I close my eyes. And this literally was happening live as I was checking my Twitter feed that night. And seeing the conversation starting to unfold, and then coming to our own Discord and continuing the conversation there from what we were seeing and having a dialogue there. You know, this is at like midnight, 11 p.m. midnight, that night. So yeah, I mean, it started with Destiny 2. So I'll throw it back to you, Trip, so you can kind of go through the beginning timeline here.
Yeah, I mean, it really started. This was, like you said, it was Friday night. And a streamer by the name of, she goes by Dr. Jules. That's how you would say her Twitter handle. Jules Verne is what her name is on Twitter. She's someone who is in all of these streamer circles, hangs out with everyone that you would imagine from Destiny, including Dr. Lupo, who is now ascended to, before Mixer collapse, which we'll get to for sure, ascended to probably like the top Twitch spot, or one of the top Twitch spots for sure, in terms of broadcasters. She tweeted along the lines of like, hey, like, there was a time I went to like a community event, and then there was a big streamer who kept following me and harassing me and put his hand on my leg the whole time. And oh, by the way, his name was Lono. And in the Destiny 2 community, Lono is the first name of Say No to Rage, who is a Destiny 2 broadcaster. He hosts podcasts weekly about the game. He hosts podcasts daily about the game, actually, on his own stream. And he's just been someone who's always been around the scene. And after Jules Verne posted her tweet about this, essentially, people were in the replies saying, "Oh my God, this happened to me. This happened to me too." Namely, She Snaps and Sh55, two other prominent women in the Destiny 2 community.
That's got to be, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. We're saying
that's got to be like a really weird thing to experience when somebody like talks about their experience, and then all of a sudden the room goes, oh wait, you also, like, you too with this? Right. And that has to be like a really weird moment to experience.
I mean, it's literally why the hashtag Me Too started a couple years back, because it's literally that unfortunate realization that everyone is having this experience. And She Snaps wrote up a Medium post detailing in great detail essentially one trip out to Bungie when Bungie had a lot of creators over out to their studio to gain feedback, to check the status of the game, kind of plan for the future, and the events that happened around that when all the broadcasters were kind of just hanging out after that stuff was done. It's none of these reads are easy to read, right?
I read all of Snaps's.
Yeah, it's all uncomfortable. It's eye opening, and
it almost reads like a suspense horror novel.
This is people's real lives where this stuff happens to, and it really detailed just like at least from Lono's, it's seen from his perspective, a very dismissive attitude towards his behavior and how he was treating She Snaps. Not that this should factor into his behavior at all, but the man's married. The man has children.
That's context I didn't get.
Yeah, I didn't. That wasn't in the store.
Where's that context?
I mean, it's not going to be in the articles, or she's not going to say that. But if you've seen his streams, he is a married man with children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's not something that's a secret. I mean, it hasn't been a part of the conversation from her perspective because it doesn't make a difference, right?
No.
From her perspective, right? As the story that she's trying to tell.
I'm not saying that there's having more context. I'm not saying having more context makes it any less lecherous. I mean, it's still hard.
Honestly, it makes it even more shitty if that's possible. Kind of.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's the point I'm making. I'm saying it's lecherous either way, but the fact when you add that context in. If I'm in his shoes, so I'm glad we're bringing this up because I read that and I go, wow, because immediately I'll put myself in his shoes to see if I ever made that mistake. And then I'm sitting here going, wow, could I have made this mistake? But I would never make that mistake if I was married to somebody, if I had committed myself to somebody. I've never made that mistake in my current committed relationship, but putting that into context it gives me more perspective on myself in reading it.
Sure, you're thinking from the perspective of why are you even anywhere near this type of situation if you're in a committed relationship, right? Sure, but especially if you have children, right?
I would say it's a good thing to be to kind of self-reflect, like you said you were, Felix. It's almost good to be like, well, I sure hope I did not ever make someone feel this way or put someone in that position, and that's definitely a good self-realization thing for anyone to have, honestly.
Dude, I think it's very important. I think the takeaway for all of us, right? Like, we're an all-male podcast, so we can only speak to this from one perspective, but I think something that we all need to commit to as males and then as members of this industry is we need to do a self-inventory, right? Like, you need to be honest with yourself and your past actions, because the things that we're talking about are not. This is systemic, right? I mean, we're coming off of the heels of with protests still happening for Black Lives Matter. We're talking about systemic problems, right? So these are things that we're discussing now that are coming to light that have always existed and will continue to exist. And I think Trip mentioned this in some of our private conversations and through our Discord, which is like the only way this changes is if our behavior changes, like, immediately, and it changes in our personal lives, right? It's not like our Twitch identity needs to change to support this. Like, if our individual behaviors, if the children we're raising, if all of these things don't change, then systemically it's not going to change.
It has to be a culture, right? A culture within you and within your community yourself. I'm not talking about your gaming community, your whatever, your work community, like you and your friends and yourself. Because I know, and I've been this person too, where I've seen something happen and you let it go because it was the culture, you know, and it might not even hit you as something that's as serious as someone else affected by it, but that needs to change. That's the lens that you need to be looking at things through, and you need to be calling it out to people in your life that exhibit those behaviors, because that, like you said, Locke, is the way that it changes. The way that it changes is owning it and being active with getting people in your life to be better in every moment, really.
Yeah, I think before we kind of continue with the events, I think what this makes me think about is like, there's definitely things that I've seen through the course of my life, not actions that I've taken, but things that I've witnessed that I didn't at the time have the courage or things to probably say something against, I wouldn't even call them friends, but people that I associated with in high school and probably in college, right? But I think that comes with maturity, and with age you were able to speak out against those things. But what we need to get better with as a society is how we empower youth realistically to be able to stand up against those things, right? Because all of these behaviors happen during those times too, right? It's not just this, however old this man is that has a wife and a child, right? These are problems that happen, we'll get to some other stuff in the Destiny community as well that happen with teenagers, right? So it's a widespread problem.
It is, yeah. And the problem also with it is that everyone is so, not everyone, but a vast majority of people in the streaming community, they're all young, like we're either right before or right after 30, roughly, to put our podcast. There were people that had fame, money, culture, who were, late teens, early 20s when Destiny came out, maybe even like 12, 13, right? And so at that point, you're a teenager, you have fame, attention, money, and you're going to act like a teenager based on the culture that you're raised in. Again, it goes back to like changing the culture conversation, but those behaviors, especially when you have a spotlight on you, are not great. And that's a lot of what's been called out right now. And it wasn't ever a situation where someone was apologizing or changing their past behavior. They just continued it because of the position they had, the power they had, and the fact that it was the norm. Yeah. So speaking of what you were saying, unless you wanted to kind of cap any of that out, we'll go into that specific situation.
I think like reading through the Snap stuff, like it was really hard, right? Like I've followed her for a long time. I've watched a lot of her streams, starting back to like when I think she raided Felix. Like she did do that. Right. Wow. She doesn't really know us, but like she's familiar with our community, right?
I met her. I know. I met her at a TwitchCon, and I told her about the Felix raid, and she literally was like, "Oh my god, he was a nut job," like in a nice way, like, "Oh my god, he was crazy,"
Or
so like she's been someone that I've followed for a long time, right? And she's someone that is so thoughtful and so mindful and so open and welcoming to her own community and the things that she tries to do for her own content, right?
Her content now is specifically mindfulness and like meditation and communication, and she'll sit there on stream and kind of like get everyone together and literally meditate sometimes, just have open conversations, and she's gotten really, really good opportunities, like even public speaking about, mindfulness, centering yourself and calm and stuff like that. So that's kind of where she's taking her content.
Right. And I think she kind of says that some of that was a catalyst because of these tragic events that she was a part of, kind of probably shifted her towards this focus. But it was shocking. And then it was hurtful to read that. Right. Only because like for her specifically, because that was probably the streamer that I was the closest to, right? Like some of these other women that were affected, like it's disgraceful, but it didn't feel the same for me personally because I didn't watch them, or I don't follow them on Twitter. I don't engage them on Twitter. I don't, so seeing her, like seeing that long post was, exactly. Yes. That's a good way to put it. It was like watching a close friend get hurt versus just witnessing a stranger have the same result. But you can go further with it, Trip, if you want to kind of go through
the only thing around that specific event with She Snaps posting about Lono. He sent a video out on Twitter kind of addressing it and replying to it, which I didn't get a chance to see because he took it down really soon after. Apparently it was incredibly insincere and just bullshitty and not really taking ownership and blaming other people, which is a tactic of a lot of abusers out there. It's kind of their response.
His wife is sitting next to him in the video.
Oh my god.
Like, and she's just looking at him, like just staring at him as he reads off of this piece of paper. There's mirrors of it. You could easily find it. People saved saved it fucking immediately before he deleted it. So it's still
put out another reply video. This one I think is on YouTube and still there, which is, apparently more sincere might be the word to use. Again, I haven't watched that one either. I just really have no desire to hear what they say. But
no, for him, I don't really have that desire.
because it's pretty obvious that this is a pattern, you know. And what's also interesting is people in like prominent Destiny streamers, King Athalion, Professor Broman, people that organize, you know, Guardian Community Convention, which turned to Guardian Con, which is now GCX, which has literally this week raised $6 million for St. Jude. They knew about this because She Snaps and Jules Verne and Liz would come to them and be like, guys, Lono can't be here. Like, he is like abusive towards us and he will not get the message. And they would revoke his creator credentials to be on the show, and he would steal badges to be in like private restricted areas at these conventions and these events. So they didn't run out publicly because, you know, again, She Snaps and people would say, we don't want you to, we're not ready. Like, you know, we don't know how to handle this, but this is our fight, you know, but we just want to let you know because he's going to be here and he can't be around these people. And so they would go, okay, cool, we get it. We're not going to speak out about this, but here's what we'll do. And they did all these things. And he still found a way to be in there. And then when people attack them saying like, well, you knew all this time, like, you know, where was the action? They go, well, here's everything that we did. Here's what they asked us to do. You know, we've known for a long time. And that's why he wasn't like a major prominent member, because specifically Broman and Goth got together early on and made a pact to get everyone partnered who played Destiny back in the day. Like they were in the communities, they put together positive people and rated and hosted, and it was their goal to build that actual directory. So they knew everybody in there. And there was a reason you didn't really see Lono as part of that squad or as tight knit as everyone else. It's because they knew. Everyone knew his behavior. Well,
the other thing is he tried to, for his own community, spin this like that they were trying to hold him back from being a Destiny creator.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So like one of his like long-term mods came out and made a tweet essentially saying like, I can't believe like I fell for this for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
But essentially he would tell his closest group of friends and moderators that like, these guys they have it after me. They don't like me for whatever reason. He would say like, oh, I'm becoming too popular or whatever, that they had it out for him.
Right.
And these people believed him for that, right? And then all of this comes out, and you know, Broman and Goth are saying, hey, like, it wasn't our story to tell. We did the best that we could to support them until they were ready to share. And here's all of it, right? Exactly. So it's to see the length that he went to continue to get near them, to continue to harass them is frightening, quite honestly.
It's pretty predatory. I'm sorry. If I sound like I'm saying this to people who are watching as well, if I sound like I'm laughing, I'm not laughing because I think that's entertaining. I'm laughing because it's super uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to process. So
I don't know how to process. Yeah. So you guys need to understand that I'm not irreverent to what we're talking about. I'm just like.
Yeah.
And then
I live in a goddamn bubble. I'm telling you.
It's wild, man.
That's your privilege, bro.
Yeah, it's my
That's
privilege.
Your privilege.
It's my privilege.
So on the heels of this, especially it being in the Destiny community, an ex-girlfriend of Lumi, who goes by Luminosity, tweeted herself about their relationship, how abusive it was. But that wasn't really the point of the whole article. The point was that not only herself, but other girlfriends, women that were, you know, that people in their clan BSK were talking to, would send nudes to these people, these streamers in the clans, and then their clan had a Discord server where they would share all the nudes of all the women that were sent to them with each other. They would essentially get a nude, post a picture, and that was their little fucking club in there.
And I think it's important to note that the pictures that they were getting was from pretending to be their boyfriend, pretending to be close to them. Like the story that was told for Lumi that dropped was that he actually had a IRL girlfriend the entire time that he was talking to this girl over the internet.
Essentially just manipulating these.
Correct. You know, leveraging his, so it's important from the timeline perspective that like, the things that we're talking about with She Snaps happened during D2, right? During Destiny 2. This stuff that came out about the BSK clan, Bomb Squad Kittens, and these Crucible player, the PvP guys, all happened during D1, right? So this story that we're talking about all happened during D1, so years and years and years ago. So this goes back to something that we were talking about earlier, where Luminosity he became instantly famous for his skill set in Destiny PvP. He was a teenager, right? And he fell into this extremely toxic and inappropriate behavior, right? So then this was a private Discord that they had of members, and they would essentially it was like a ring of nude photographs that they would get from girls all over the internet by pretending to be their boyfriend.
That is insanely messed up.
So then that became a thing of many stories coming out about that, and some different members of BSK. And this is on the heels, right, of Luminosity tweeting to She Snaps and tweeting to these people that were talking about Say No to Rage, saying, I support you, I support women, I support your voice, we're listening, like all of this positive reinforcement, right? Throwing all this out there, tweet after tweet after tweet. And then 24, 48 hours later, I don't know the exact timeline, this comes out about himself, right?
Wait, were these girls underage?
They would have been at the time.
I think some of them were. Yeah, I think some of them were.
Damn.
But I don't know for certain. Like, I was trying to follow some of these threads as it was unfolding, and there were some claims made about some other streamers that turned out to be untrue. But during that time, there were claims of some of these girls being underage.
Wait, I missed something. Was he doxxed by himself or by a victim?
Say that again.
Was he after he?
How was he exposed?
How was he exposed?
How was who exposed? Luminosity.
Mm-hmm.
He was a victim tweeted out.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, so this is the snowball that we're talking about, right? Like, we go from Say No to Rage, right, inside the Destiny community, and then the Destiny community starts imploding, right? Before we get to some of the other industry stuff, the Destiny community starts imploding, going from Say No to Rage to the PvP clan BSK. And this is still within 24 to 48 hours. Like, we're only on to like Saturday night at this point, where these claims are now being made. The BSK clan is then outed. Some other members are outed for making racial slurs. There's some members outed for doxing. There's you guys probably wouldn't be familiar with this. I know Trip is during one of the world's first raids, Goth, Broman, their whole crew normally participates in the world's first raid. What raid was it, Trip, that they got? Do you remember? It's not really that important, but it might have been Wrath. So for one of the raids, it's right when we switched to Steam, or right when we switched. Was it right when we switched to Steam?
Oh, if we switched to Steam, then it was
like Garden.
No, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. Couldn't have been Steam. Maybe it was when we first went to BNet. There was a when the /join feature happened, which it must have been the first raid on PC. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that would have been Last Wish. That was Last Wish.
Okay, maybe it was. Their party wasn't private, so some random person joins their stream, and then after that random person joins their party and their stream, they all started getting hit offline. And they were hit offline for a while. Like, they were essentially not able to participate in the world's first raid for hours. And this clan that took credit for that DDoS attack was this group of people called Orange Justice. Orange Justice ended up having ties with this BSK clan. And it came out and unfolded that these BSK members were afraid of the Orange Justice clan. So they essentially turned a blind eye to everything that was happening around them and befriended these guys because they were, quotes, afraid for their own streams, their own platforms, because these guys essentially went and were doxing people, were DDoSing people, were essentially causing nightmares for the community. And some other prominent figures like Giggs was affected by this. Many other members.
Just to touch on Orange Justice, according to the Paul Tassi article that we have, He wrote that Orange Justice also targeted black streamers with racial attacks.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't read the full Paul Tassi article, but I believe his writing. So these were kids, and it doesn't excuse their behavior.
Nope.
But all of their a lot of the prominent PvP players have now been outed for some type of inappropriate behavior. Like the top 1% of the Destiny PvP community has all been outed for some type of inappropriate behavior, whether it be this ring circle, this circle of nudes, doxing, DDoSing, racial slurs. I mean, there were sponsorships dropping left and right on Twitter. There were orgs dropping them left and right on Twitter. I think 3 of them have deleted their Twitter accounts and deleted their Twitch channels. And these are people with like tens of thousands of followers, right? It's not like just some random kid. Like these are prominent figures within the Destiny PvP community that have all just at this point disappeared, because all of this was outed and unfolded. And again, what's really, really important is these same people 24 hours before were tweeting out, "We stand with you, She Snaps. We believe you. We hear you. We're here to support you." But then don't have the ability to take the self-inventory to say, this is the toxic shit that I've been a part of, right? Yeah, I might not have inappropriately touched somebody, but it doesn't. It's not far off, right?
Yeah, you're still engaging in behavior that is not acceptable.
Correct. Correct. And right.
And
yeah,
also,
so
all of this was done post their careers as streamers starting. Right, this is stuff that happened when they had popularity. Power,
correct.
When they had power, when they gained following,
right.
And then they had influence. And as we've seen in the last 3 years, when certain men get power, they become monsters.
Yeah. And these are like some of them, like I've followed and I've spent a lot of time watching, right? Like, me as a PvP player, like I've spent more time in some of these guys' channels than I have watching Broman or Goth, right? Just because that's the content that I like to watch. Like Lumi, I've watched Lumi since D1, since 2015. I've been watching Luminosity stream. And then, you find out within a matter of moments that the dude's a fucking dirtbag. It's like, all right, well, fuck him, right? But it's like... it's
real quick.
It's crazy, right? It's just, it's hard. And, I don't know this person, right? Like all I see is what they show me on a Twitch channel, but it's still shocking to hear that news and to see it unfold and to realize that you supported this person.
No,
right?
When you're a live streamer, like the people that watch you, you're their TV, And you got to think of the consequences that go into misbehaving as that personality,
Mm-hmm.
You represent a platform.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part about being young when this happens. It's hard to contextualize that. It's easy for us, but when you're 14 years old, you're not thinking wow, I have a really big following and I can affect a lot of opinion with my voice. Let me make sure I say the right thing.
Right.
It's
you're right.
750, not what you're going to do on stream that day.
Yeah, and I think this comes back to the systemic problems, right? What is the mindset of a 14, 15, 16-year-old male, right?
Yeah, it's not great or right or correct. It's unfortunately what we've all been raised to kind of accept, and that's what needs to change really at the heart of the thing.
Correct. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? After the BSK stuff.
After BSK.
Well, going through the Paul Tassi article that actually lists everything we're talking about, I'm seeing a name in here of someone I actually know, which is insane. Someone I met at Comic-Con a few years ago. He was a part of the Kind of Funny community, friends of Greg Miller and all them. Sean Pitts, who got hired by IGN, was also accused of abusive behavior, it seems. I have a picture with this guy. I met him, and apparently,
is this an abuser?
Abuser.
Is this him as a boss and him and another person, or is this something else? Because I know IGN's.
he
currently
apparently
unfolding.
yeah, which I have. Well, I'll cite those later. I have those listed. I have those in a tab. But no, he was just he was hired as like an editor, as like a writer. And according to people who I've spoken with, he's been kind of like working his way up the industry, trying to like schmooze his way in. And apparently, according to somebody named Kylie Woomer, who was former of IGN, she filed a complaint about Sean Pitts before he left the industry because she couldn't deal with the knowledge of his abusive and shady behavior, some which she experienced, most of which which she watched happen to people in real time. And apparently she finished this post with, "It was kind of funny's open secret." This is insane. But I did listen to Kind of Funny release their podcast, their version of the podcast we're doing right now yesterday. They brought him up and they actually did address their relationship with Sean Pitts, and I believe they are not associated with him anymore. So that is what they said.
Good.
But that's it. Yeah, this tweet actually goes on to detail everything that she has. I haven't read it. I just saw this just now, so I'm not going to read the whole thing for you guys. But that is kind of insane that I met this guy like in 2015 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think another hard thing for us to kind of wrap our heads around is like the gaming industry at a time like when we grew up and even past that was such a non-mainstream thing that we thought of it as this like precious thing, and it's like it's just not, right? It's not sacred, it's not special, it's not different than any other industry, right? Like, again, systemic problems. We're just now, with the voices that have said something are now having to deal with that, right? We're no different than corporate America. We're no different than any other industry that has already dealt with these problems publicly. May have not changed anything, right? But have at least publicly admitted that they're problems. It's just now affecting an industry that we're super close to. But to think about it like it didn't actually exist, it is hard, right? Because like we go in day and week over week and we talk about the things that we love about gaming, but all of these things have been happening week over week over week over years, right? So when you hear about people that you've met at cons or you've listened to on podcasts or you followed or you've retweeted or whatever point it's touched you individually, it's kind of hard to kind of think about. Because we just haven't faced it. We haven't come to realization that, it's a problem that we have to deal with. So where are we at next? Because we're only like 48 hours into this unfolding, and we have like a lot of other shit to happen. Yeah.
36. We're still sitting, I think, Saturday night when all this is kind of spinning out of control. And at this point, other people in other industries are kind of other people in other circles of gaming are putting their own stories out there because of the women coming forward about theirs and all the support they've got and all the attention they're receiving. And a broadcaster by the name of Jessie Quill puts together a Twitter thread that she keeps adding to. She adds,
I remember seeing it. Yeah.
Name, a link to the post detailing the account, whatever the accusation was. And she would just add link after link after link after link. I think it's got up to like 70 something people in this post. And I was going through it Saturday night and I saw a name on there that I was, all these names of course are shocking, but then you see Omid Dariani, and Omid Dariani at this point was the CEO of OPG, Online Performers Group, one of the first and still probably only to their size management companies for online broadcasters. We think of like TV and film and even theater. Management companies are the standard, right? You have an agent, they book you, they get you work. OPG did this for streamers. Omid was an ex-Sony executive who decided to kind of start his own business. I watched Omid on Twitter talk about business things. Again, King Ithalian, Professor Broman, they were all OPG clients. They kind of like gained attention because of how much they've done for their streams and their online work. So
this organization was essentially like the ground floor of like 1950s advertising firms, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
there's no one else at this size, right? This is like Mad Men era fucking organization, right? Like no one else is doing what they were doing.
Yep.
And again, here's fucking male ego 101 is this fucking dude, right? Like it's fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. But keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So Omid, essentially, he before the accusation came out about him, he had a whole bunch of Twitter posts saying like, we have to believe women, we have to believe survivors, you know, all the things. And then it comes out about him, and he goes like, I know we said we should believe women. I don't remember this exactly. Not my turn of events. You know, I apologize for how you took it. Just all the classic
deflection. Yeah.
You know? And then eventually he retracted his statement, put out another one, of course, and then he stepped down from OPG. And a lot of broadcasters kind of cut their ties with OPG.
Yeah, his post is interesting too. It says the talented men and women who work there pour their hearts into it daily. Give them a chance. Please don't destroy it because you're angry at me. And then one of the top posts is, we're not angry at you. We're holding you accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
man.
And then I mean, there are some people that have tweeted out like, hey, I still have a contract with this company. I can't leave, but best believe as soon as my contract is up, I will be leaving. You know, Goth and Broman, all those guys, Darkness, I think they all said, you know, like we're gone, we're out. You know what I mean? And it's you know, it's a little, you know, I feel for the people, the peons that are there that were just working, you know, the low level positions that suddenly
think of, they're not going to be the last, but they were the first, and they could have done so much good work creating a space for agents in the field too. You will bring someone on, that person can grow their skills managing online talent. They could do, you know, they could have a part literally in defining what contracts look like. What is the standard for accepting work in an online space? Because no one was doing it, and they were the first. But now, regardless of the other people's involvement, you know, in the company, which is probably none, it probably just all Omid, no one is going to want to work with OPG because of that.
Oh yeah, it's done. Brand's done. Brand is done.
It's a shame for the people that work there, just showing up to work, doing their job, wanting to be at the beginning of an industry, which we still really are.
And I was reading tweets of threads of people like low level positions, like, guys, we did not know this was happening. We support you for leaving, but like, fuck, this hurts us too, right? Yep. Like, I'm out of job. I can't stay here and work here anymore, right? So I'm out of job, and you know, the effects that, you know, the top has on the very bottom of the organization is it's deeply saddening for those. But
and then probably the other biggest turn of events, because again, at this point, this is just snowballing. Everyone is calling out abusers left and right. People are coming forward with accounts. I'm sure if anyone looks at a list and they haven't yet, they are going to see at least 2 or 3 people that they recognize in some capacity.
Yeah, I have a very close friend. I'm not going to name names, but I have a very close friend who was very close with somebody on this list, like, and would hang out with them regularly. Their girlfriend would hang out with that person regularly by themselves, right? Like, that's fucking terrifying to find this out over Twitter, that like this is someone that you trusted to be in your home or trusted to hang out with, which is crazy how it doesn't, in a fucking Fifth Degree of Kevin Bacon, right? We're not so far disassociated with this list of streamers and this list of people in the industry, right? Even the small podcast, which is wild.
So moving on from there, again, Jesse Quill has a giant list of all these abusers and broadcasters and people that have been kind of behaving like this for years. And people start posting not so much sexual abuse allegations, but other related allegations, like someone tweeted about behavior at Mixer and how they were a black employee and were subjected to an insane amount of racism.
Oh.
Yeah, I read this one too.
It was a long thread. Like blatant not like, you know, if someone was trying to play devil's advocate, like, you know, being a fucking troll, like blatant racism within their role and their direct.
One of the managers even said something along the lines of like, as the manager being like, oh, you guys are all my slaves, like literally invoking slavery as one of the ways he described himself.
That was language used. Yes, correct.
That was indeed language used, and I could not believe that.
Yeah, Felix, for a little bit of context, he
I keep needing it.
It's okay. You would have needed to read the tweet thread to know this. I don't think there was an article written about it. His story accounts that he's in a meeting and they're talking about Mixer partners and Mixer streamers, and the manager is talking about Mixer partners as being slaves to them, that they're not important, that they're just slaves, and we can make them do whatever we want because they're our slaves. And this dude's sitting in this meeting like, you're not using this analogy right now. Like you fucking cannot be using this analogy with me sitting right here. And the manager doubled down on it. Manager doubled down on it and was like, no, I absolutely am. And this is why I'm using it. Don't be offended. And the person's like, what the fuck do you mean don't be offended? Like you don't understand, right?
Yeah, there's images. There's images in society. There are words that conjure up images. You know, like there's defined images like the Confederate flag and the Nazi symbol. And then there's phrases or words that can conjure up images instantly, and they call that a psychic wound. And you you need to understand that you can't use that stuff at all. There's not even in humor. Like not even in humor. It can't be tolerated because you are causing somebody else to think of the bad thing, whatever it fucking might be.
Well, let's not even like let's just talk like even if you took the race aspect out of it, like this is an organization that doesn't give a fuck about the people that are on its platform.
Oh yeah,
and then right. So and then you throw into the fact that there's racial undertones and racial things happening in the forefront of this statement to the sole black employee that feels like they were only hired because they were black, because they're the only black employee on this team. Right. And it's like, wow, why is this happening in front of me? And then right. So then you fast forward, and then this person got no justice, right? They left the company, but the HR, investigation, in air quotes, was still happening. And then they find out that the person was not reprimanded, that they found no fault to this person. And the reason why they found no fault was because they hired a black employee, which was this person.
That was the finding.
The finding was that this person can't be racist and could not have made
this
kind of joke in malintent because they hired a black person. You were hired. So how could this person be racist?
That's idiot's logic.
Oh, there's so much wrong with that. There's so much wrong with that.
So this account came out, and at 3:26 a.m. Eastern Daylight.
This is like 1 a.m., right? Didn't this tweet come out at like midnight, 1 a.m. somewhere in there? Or maybe that's just when I was reading it.
His tweet came out.
His tweet
that night.
Okay, so it came out earlier. I was only reading it later. Okay.
It was 6 p.m. Sunday night. So Sunday night, Monday morning, 3:26 a.m. Monday morning, Mixer replies to them. Our goal is to build a positive, welcoming, and inclusive team and community. To those sharing your stories, it's unacceptable that we did not provide that to you. We'll be vigilant in addressing this more diligently in the future. Thank you, Millen, and to the entire community. So, when I read that, I went, oh God, dude. Like you're first of all, you're saying like, wow, that sucks. We'll work on it in the future, but thanks for telling your story. That's what I read. That's the summary of the words that I read. And I went, man, that's going to be a backlash in the morning. You're going to drop this at 3 a.m. when people really are probably not going to see it and hope that it gets buried, instead of having like a public, addressing this on your main feed. We see this happening. These are the people involved, or like we've taken this action, whatever it is, just more upfront about the situation. And they decided to do that. And I was shocked and expected something bigger to come around.
Like an investigation or like...
Right. And then of course we find out that Mixer is throwing in the towel, which we will not go down that road right now.
Not yet.
We'll come back to that.
But it does kind of like, does it make their statement make more sense because they were on the verge of shutting the doors?
Maybe yes and no. I mean, I don't think the person that tweeted that necessarily knew
No,
that they were
probably
going
not.
to quit. Like, I don't think anyone knew outside of maybe a few partners and maybe some high level employees.
Mhm.
And the person doing that was probably, just trying to like do damage control as much as possible and thought they were doing a good thing by like responding to it when they had seen it. Like, I can believe with the size of that team, they didn't see it until that point, and maybe they ripped a tweet off in a minute. Potentially.
Sure.
knows?
Yeah.
So many
I mean,
tweets
the tweet reads that way, right? It reads like someone just typed up generic PR statement number 30, right?
Right. It's that meme of like the guy slapping like a Band-Aid on something on like a it's like
on the water tank. Yeah.
the water tank is like split in half and the water's still pouring out over the thing.
Yeah, it's called flex tape, baby.
Flex tape. Yeah.
Flex tape, baby.
Yep.
You can pop flex tape on anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Flex tape. So
Like I couldn't fucking believe this tweet. Like I honestly
It was ridiculous.
reading it, I honestly couldn't fathom it. That's not that a company would. I know it's not
Would
not
be
like
that
it went through
tone deaf.
a board members, right? It was the social media manager that was like, oh fuck, like I can't wait till 8 a.m. to tweet. I have to say something now. Said some stupid shit. And it's at 3:30 in the morning. Like why? Like it's okay. It's okay that your company took 12 or 24 hours to respond and say something meaningful. Like what Trip and I were talking about this, and I was blown away that someone would reply like that.
could not believe it.
Mhm.
I could not believe it.
Yeah.
And then the next day happened. So we know.
Right.
Because we literally one of the things we said in our conversation was they need to address this as a main post and say they're going to work on XYZ.
Right.
What Twitch ended up doing the next day,
Right.
which I'm sure Mixer would have done if they still existed in the next 24 hours after that point. Because that's what you're going to do. Those are the steps you're going to do as a company, regardless of your level of involvement or your level of knowledge. You have to play damage control. That's what you're going to do. And that's literally knew the exact steps that were going to happen, especially when people were calling out the Twitch CEO, Emmett Shear, I believe is his name, and saying like, hey, like you knew about all this shit kind of going on behind the scenes too. And there was some partner meetings or high level partner management meetings, essentially, where they knew people were being like abused, harassed, and they were just like, well, I guess it's on them, without any kind of real ownership as to who they give the partner badge to. So
Of their own platform.
so-
No ownership of their own platform.
beginning of the story, this turned from a couple specific gaming community accusations, snowballed to the wider gaming community, and now we're all the way up to the biggest gaming platforms in the entire space acknowledging that their teams essentially at some level either participated in or knew about harassment.
And you have and it's bigger than just the streaming platforms, right? We have IGN has said some things. We have Insomniac Games. I think someone has come out and said about their experience at Insomniac. Like it's
I don't know if
it's
this
rippling.
I don't know if this adds to the discussion or not, but like that's why I was turned off when I read the Twitch terms of service for affiliate. Like
What is that?
I just didn't feel like the way it read that if I became a part of that they were going to be using me for anything other than advertising them. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like I was going to be joining an exclusive club where I would be respected. When I read their terms of service, the impression I got from affiliate was that I would be there as an instrument to advertise their brand. And I didn't like it. I was just like,
Well, that's kind of like what you do when you sign up with a platform, right? Like it's a mutual agreement that you can use their platform, and then you get the benefits from them, and then they get to advertise on your channel unless you're like subscribed or whatever, right?
Yeah, but the way it read felt a lot I can't quote it, but like the way it read felt a lot.
Of course, it's greedy.
I was going to say greasy, but greasier.
Oh. Greasier.
lot more greasy there.
One thing we haven't addressed yet though was that we are technically recording this during the Twitch blackout. It's actually something I wanted to mention at the top of the show, but this was something that was proposed on Twitch or on Twitter, like I think it was Sunday, people were starting to like tweet about the Twitch blackout, maybe Monday, that everyone should go dark on Wednesday. No one should stream to show Twitch, to hit them in their wallet. Essentially, that was the goal. And show them that they won't stand for the kind of abuse and the kind of harassment that takes place on their platform among all their members, right? And a lot of people have been discussing this since it was announced, and a few points were brought up that I thought were pretty poignant. While yes, the idea of fully boycotting the platform is a great idea, what you're going to end up seeing is a lot of small to medium streamers are going to stay on there, possibly take advantage of it, right? And then another thing that happens is it silences the people from discussion. So you're essentially silencing yourself from wanting to communicate why you're mad and why we should be voicing our opinions right now. And tonight, that's pretty much what we decided to do. We decided to continue to record the podcast and solely focus our discussion on this topic because we wanted to be able to talk about it and show that this is a very important thing we need to address, more or less.
Yeah, I think as the conversation continued about it, because I think it got a lot of steam right away. Like when the hashtag came out, everyone was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, let's do this. This seems like a great idea, right?" And then people started to like, "All right, hold on. Like, let's have a conversation about. Let's think about this." Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh no, all we're doing is oppressing ourselves again. You're already silenced. If you're a woman or you're a minority, you're already silenced, right? Why are you silencing yourself again by doing this, right? Like use your platform for the things that you want to share, right? And I think the intention was very good, right? And I just think it was misguided a little bit. And those that participate too, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
You have a right to the opinion, and I think the reason why you're doing it is probably for the right reasons. Clearly, because you wouldn't just not be streaming for the wrong reasons, because there's no benefit to you for not streaming. So it's okay if that's your take on the matter. We just felt as a podcast, as our own community, that we wanted to speak out on it, and give our take on it. But yeah, that came out. I think Sunday sounds about right in terms of timeline.
Yeah, it's between Sunday and Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the only way this changes is if we, and by we I mean white males, don't try and white knight this bullshit, right? Like, we can't be the ones making the decisions on what needs to change, right? We need independent committees. We need to empower and promote women. Minorities. We need to hear what would be best for them from them and make decisions based off of their own voice, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's misguided for us to say what steps need to happen to fix this, because all our own lens will just be our own lens. And I think that's probably why we've never made an actual change, because it's always us making the decision versus those that are truly affected by it. So for the organizations that are going through this, right, like, I think there's very easy steps that they can take to try and fix this personally. Whether or not they actually take those steps remains to be seen.
Yeah. I think you're definitely right about putting the people in positions to guide those conversations and to guide those decisions, and them not being people that look like us. But I think the part that we have is to own your own interactions in your lives and kind of make your space welcoming and make it cool to kind of like to call that shit out, and make that the norm. Begin by changing that behavior of abuse, of harassment, whenever you see it, because like for a lot of reasons, or for a lot of things, guys might see something and then they don't want to like be the one to make fun of.
Yeah.
If you do speak up, you don't want to be the one singled out. And that's, I think, whether or not someone is good at heart, that moment happens so much more in your life, in our lives than we realize. There's the opportunity that you have to say, hey, dude, that really isn't cool. Like, I'm seeing what's happening and it can't happen because of these reasons. Look, I respect you. I like you. That wasn't okay. And the more that we do that, the more that we're comfortable having those conversations, the better things are going to be overall.
Yeah. I think self-inventory is super important, and the ability to judge yourself and be harsh to your own actions. And then honestly be harsh to the actions that are happening around you and not be complacent. I think complacency is a huge reason why we're here. And turning a blind eye or not looking a little bit deeper just because it's easier to ignore it, right? Because it doesn't affect you personally.
It's the same thing with Black Lives Matter,
Yeah, I was
people in our position.
I was going to speak to the Black Lives Matter thing really quickly. Like, I have a really, really good friend, someone that I would say is essentially a brother to me, who has a young son just like myself, and it really hit home for me that he needs to be raised differently. Like, my friend's son needs to be raised differently than my own son, and he'll learn things that my son doesn't need to learn because my son's white and his son's black. And like, when I really looked through it in that filter and thought that this little boy, this 2-year-old boy, is going to have to learn about how to interact with police or interact in society that's set up to fail for him is it's sad, right? And it's hurtful. And I'm not the one that's affected, right? So I could never imagine what those shoes are like. So that was the realization for me in the moment with the recent stuff with Black Lives Matter. And it's hearing their opinions, right? Hearing from them, those that you're already close to. And I think it's the same way for females that don't feel like they have a voice, right? That don't feel like they can speak up and be a victim because they're going to be shamed or they're not going to be believed or whatever. So we're in this place in society, even outside of gaming, on how we listen, really, and then the actions that we take from there. But I truly believe that we might be the ones in power to actually make their thoughts and their opinions into action. Like we have, and by we, I mean a white male might be the person in power to put these things into place, but it can't be our own ideals, our own ideas. Even if we feel like they're really great, it needs to be coming from those that are affected by it. And until that happens, I don't think we will see real change, personally.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a full culture shift from the top down.
Yeah.
The very top down.
Well, I'm fully prepared to step aside and let other voices be heard that have not been heard. That is something I'm more than willing to do. I've been slightly less active on Twitter the past couple of days just to not impede those voices. And I've been trying to boost them as much as possible because it's been quite a experience to read through all these stories. Yeah.
Do you
want me to share IGN?
Sure, you can hit the stuff. I was reading through that too today. I think I read through it.
Yeah. So Kylie Plage? Callie Plage.
No, sure.
No idea. She used
Kelly
to.
P.
Yeah, Kelly P. Callie. She is now at GameSpot, but she was at IGN, and she reported on two of her managers, Steve Butts and Tal Blevins, as being huge bullies and just insanely, just offensive to her in general. Another person, Mitch Dyer, who of IGN at the time. He's now a writer. He's writing Star Wars Squadrons, and he wrote Battlefront 2 story, the new ones. Now, the thing that stuck out to me the most was he reported on Amy Hennig leaving Naughty Dog, and Steve and Tal forced him to gossip in the story. They heard it was a hostile takeover, so Mitch didn't want to publish that story, and he tried to take his name off of it, and they ended up publishing it anyway, completely. Yeah, so just completely like fabricating a news story just for clicks. Callie was bullied around. She couldn't take lunch breaks, right? She could never leave her desk, and if she did, she would be like questioned and interrogated. She came back to emails of asking her where she was and why she left her desk. She was regularly humiliated by Steve in front of her employees, and he'd make her gather around everyone in the morning because he knew it made her anxious. She reported it to HR, and then Steve threatened her, and he told her that he would be all over. He just wanted to be all over, and he should talk it out with her. and he would bring her into rooms and intimidate her. And it goes on, like it's like post after post of like experiences that she had. And then Mitch, just the same thing. Another thing that Mitch pointed out is these guys stayed at $3,000 Airbnbs while employees shared rooms in like Roach hotels. When we pushed to have our own rooms, they told us he had to deal with it because the company didn't have any money. And then he says bullshit. There are just so many accounts of like these two managers like just reprimanding staff, just creating a culture of fear, and just among other things, just constant.
Those guys still work there?
They don't. They do not work there. And
no, but she outed what they work together at another company now, and she tweeted out what the name of the company was.
Which one was it?
Rip.
They work for some
Level
agency.
74.
No.
Yeah. So she tweeted at them and was like, "You probably want to look into this," to the company. So,
That's great.
yeah, they both left. But like hearing her story, she's like, I was so excited. I forget which person came first in the timeline, but she was so excited when her first boss was leaving because she's like, oh, I can only get better from here. Mm-hmm. And then her next boss was just as bad, if not worse, I think she says.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and this is at IGN, right?
It's like, IGN, yeah.
Whatever you feel about IGN and the content that they create now, you can't not say that they're a pillar of the gaming space, right? Mm-hmm. To know that this is happening at IGN is crazy. But again, we shouldn't honestly be surprised, right? We're not special.
Yeah. I mean, it just, you think about all the things you aren't hearing about.
Right.
You know, like we're not hearing everything. And then it's like, wow, that was crazy. Just the good ones are left. No, it's like right. People just don't know about the other people that are in power, or even like the people in your communities that have acted like this. And that's really kind of like the questionable part, you know? But it goes back to just changing the culture, like you were talking about, top down, you know, and you can just hope for the best that those people, the people that maybe have not been outed, people that are that have acted like this, but maybe they cover their tracks better than someone else who got exposed. Maybe they're taking stock and they're going, holy shit, you know, you want to believe that they're internally affected by this and finding some meaning. A lot of them won't, you know, a lot of them won't at all until they do get exposed. But you know, that's the only way it's going to change, is if you can really convince someone that this is a better way to exist, because the alternative leads to just lives being destroyed. Literally, you know, because people that go through this shit, you know, they can't function, you know, like they're affected. This stuff changes how you interact with a human to a certain extent, you know, like some of these stories that have come out, and we didn't get into like detail. We're not going to go into specific detail. The stories are all out there if you can read. Some of these things, they're not just like random, you know, hands on the knees, aggressive DMs. Some of this is actual rape, and you've ruined someone's entire life at that point. And that's, you know, it feels almost minimalistic to say that's the problem. Like, of course it's the fucking problem, but that's the problem with activity like this, you know? And it's in every single area of life, not just a gaming space or something else. It's a male dominated pattern of behavior, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's like from the outside of an organization, it's easy to solve poor behavior within choose any company, right? But the company itself is only trying to protect itself and the money it makes, right? Like the HR department was designed to be there for the people, but they don't work for the people, right? They work for the company. So in any case, all they're trying to do is strike a balance at best. And at worst, they don't go fuck, right? So, you know, it's hard to expect real change if the sole department in an organization is not actually looking out for the people in which they're supposed to be looking out for, and be independent. And that's because there is no independence. There's not an independent thing about this. It's all run from the organization, right? So a company would need to have the wherewithal to air its own dirty laundry, to say, we're going to be better. Here are the things that we found. You didn't know about these things, but here are the things that we found, and these are the things that we're going to do differently, and this is what we're going to do in the future and how we're going to be better. Let's see the first company does that. No company's done that yet, right? You can give me a fucking twit longer. You can give me a fucking cool infographic about how you're going to be better. That doesn't mean anything. All you're doing is just word salad to make somebody partially feel better, right? It any one of us can tweet out how, our podcast is going to be better. That doesn't mean anything.
It's funny though. Riot Games is a really great example of one of these workplaces that have been like a toxic work culture. Even recently, one of their heads was actually he was criticizing the Black Lives Matter movement, but he has been suspended as of now. That was recently, but within the past 2 years, they have been under fire for many sexual misconduct allegations. And in fact, they had a lawsuit, what's that called when a group of people file a lawsuit?
Class action.
Against them from former employees about either harassment, back pay that they didn't receive. And it seems as though Riot Games since then, there have been a few articles that have come out recently showing that they are trying to change their internal culture and trying to make things better. Who knows if it's going to work? Who knows if they're going about it the right way? But they are changing things inside their company that are trying to make things better for the people who work there. Who knows if it's true or not? That's all I can say is that there has been something said about them working internally about it. And that's honestly a start for sure.
Yeah. I mean, any company that will take steps and actions and self-inventory in a way that's not, selfish. It's so easy to see the selfish posts and the selfish, in social media comments that one makes that people just scroll past, right? Shit, your company doesn't stand for racial injustice. It's so easy to say. Of course, why would anybody publicly admit, yes, our company stands for racial injustice? No one's going to say that, but that's not what we need to do, right? We need companies to stand out and say, these are the steps that we're taking. And no one's doing that. So if Riot is the first gaming company or fucking whatever, Blue Microphone's the first one that comes out, great. Maybe others will follow. But we would need to see action. Or all we're doing is just screaming on our soapboxes into a fucking void for a little bit, and then it goes back to the same way that it's been. And again, doesn't affect any one of us sitting in these chairs. We are not affected personally, right?
It's true.
So again, it goes to Trip saying earlier, what self-inventory are you doing? What things are you going to do if you're a witness or if you're seeing these things happening, right? What do we do to help, to amplify, to make it not go away? Which is super important that we listen and then we take action based off of those voices that we hear, whether they're a part of our community or a larger community.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think it's a great way to cap it off too, because at this point it's still an evolving conversation. We're still very much hot on the heels of this. I'm pretty sure Jessie Quill has now expanded her work into a Medium post that is expanding, or maybe a document. We'll try to find the link and share that out with you guys.
Well,
maybe
I read
on Twitter.
I read the Snap stuff on a Medium post. Was that the Jessie Quill one?
Yes.
No. We're talking about a compilation of everyone who has been accused across all of gaming.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we'll get that out to people on our socials.
Before we cap it off, one of the last stories that came out today was the Assassin's Creed creative director was also he stepped down.
I did not wear this shirt.
Yeah.
I did not wear this shirt. This is
You're fine.
I wore it all day. I wore the shirt all day.
And Assassin's Creed, the new game is coming out. Their director is gone. I would fully expect a lot more of these stories to be coming out tonight, tomorrow, the next day, of this creative director, so-and-so, team lead, someone, outs them, or they have their own discussions they're happening now, and then they're gone.
Before we move away, and not that it really matters all that much, his story was about him being unfaithful to his wife and lying about having a wife. Was it with an employee or was it with a random person in industry? I don't remember reading it in the story.
The impression I got from it, because I read it, was that it was meeting at conventions, Evidently,
like he was being accused of affairs with younger fans.
And also,
okay, the only reason why I ask shitty behavior is shitty fucking behavior. But there is a delineation that has to be made between someone that directly reports to him versus him just being a scumbag, right? Because there's an abuse of power versus just using your fame to attract fans or girls at cons or whatnot. It's the same shitty behavior, but there is a difference between someone feeling like they have to engage because they report to that person or they work in the same company. You know what I mean?
Well, even if they didn't work directly under you, it's he's using his fame, in this case being the director of an Assassin's Creed game.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It is. It's still an abuse. I just wanted to know personally if it was someone that worked at the company or if it was just somebody else in the industry.
Yeah.
Personally, I think
this does fairly fall under abuse, especially if they didn't know everything right up front. You know?
Well, I think for him personally, he was lying and saying that he was never married.
I just went onto the article and followed some of the tweets that originally were talking about it, and in the screenshots, you can clearly see how quickly things change once they find out, and that means that things were not above board, and that's fully an abuse of power, sexual abuse at that point. It just things were not on board, not what you agreed to. So,
right,
for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll we're not done. I don't think. I think we're gonna have a lot more of these people dragged out into the light.
Oh yeah.
Good. Burn them down. Burn it all down.
Exactly. Burn it all the fuck down.
Do you guys want
to nuke and repave?
I love the nuke and repave, dude. So it's a pretty long show already with just this discussion, and of course it needs to be, it has to be, and the discussion is not over by any means. You know, it's going to evolve and grow as it should. We can probably take a few minutes at the end right now to shift gears a little bit because it's still kind of aligned, like we mentioned earlier, to talk about how Mixer just up and blew up,
just like instantly, just exploded. Imploded.
Yeah, I need you dudes to help me figure out what I'm doing.
I don't know why you need help. It's
it's pretty obvious.
You're just on Twitch now, man.
Just fucking stream to Twitch, dude.
You're not going to Facebook.
Reinstate your affiliate status.
I hate fucking Facebook. Fuck them.
Before we get too deep in the weeds with this, with our own kind of discussions here, the day after that tweet at 3 a.m.
Yes.
Yes.
Mixer posted that they said effective July 22nd, the platform is shutting down entirely. We have a relationship with Facebook Gaming.
Oh God.
You can easily go over there if you're a partner and immediately get your partner status. Essentially, they're kind of speeding up that onboarding process.
Like a stipend too for partners.
I'm sorry.
They're offering like a stipend. Is that the right thing?
Oh, I don't know.
They're offering they're offering a bonus, like a sign package.
Right. So they're getting.
But here's the thing. They tweeted it out like, hey, we got some big news for you. Like, and this big news is going to be like, you know, the release of Embers or something like that, like some platform news. Like,
congratulations,
hey, partners,
we're shutting down.
Yeah, it was like, you know, like, hey, we have some really exciting news. You need to listen. We're no longer a company. Everyone was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, I was literally my fucking jaw dropped.
Yeah, I
was like, "What? Like,
I know
this is it. This is the end. And this is the tweet."
It's
a late April Fool's tweet. That's what it was.
Imagine being a Mixer partner and you get hit with that because you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know that. You know,
right?
There's someone who I watched on Mixer. His name is Rocket Bear. Rocket Bear is one of the people that straddle the line between employee and broadcaster, and there's a lot of them on Mixer because of how small Mixer is.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea. And I have watched him, and I've watched him now on Twitch because he's testing out the waters of Twitch and testing out the waters of Facebook. I can see it in his face that this man is not lying. This man is fucking lost, right? He's a fantastic broadcaster. He's going to do fine. He already has, I think he's averaging around maybe 120 to 170 when he broadcasts on Twitch. He's going to be okay. You know, the D2 community is going to take care of him. But like, imagine that's part of your livelihood, especially being one of like we can say the few Mixer partners that you can recognize as someone who has an equal stance to a Twitch partner, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of like replacing their income with streaming money. And then your company one that you also work for. Like you clock in and get a paycheck from them as like a W-2 employee, not just like you're hopping on a stream and getting your Ember payout. Then he goes and streams, and they yank that rug completely out from under you, and you have to find a new home for your content. And that's so many people, and that's the wildest part. You know? Like,
I don't even know what to say.
The biggest,
it's so poorly handled. It's like fucking unbelievable.
So think about
slam the button, dude.
Think about their actions this past year. Now, my prediction all year was they were positioning Mixer to be this big thing on the Xbox Series X, right? They bought Ninja. They bought who was the other guy? Shroud.
Ninja, Shroud, Gothalion.
They signed them.
They brought over
so much money, right? Like
Ewok.
So
Ewok,
much money.
The 14-year-old Fortnite phenomenon. Just so many people. Yeah, they brought over.
So that told me at the time that they're positioning their platform for major growth, and they want it to be featured heavily when the Xbox Series X drops this holiday, right? They were going to have maybe Ninja play Halo exclusively on the Mixer, on Mixer, right?
I mean, who knows? Better console integration,
better console integration
launching. Who knows?
Exactly.
Dude?
And then this happens after 2 months in quarantine. They showed. Now I remember seeing these graphs, and I think I talked to you about this before, Trip. They had almost no growth since everyone's been locked in their home doing nothing but watching things, right? Facebook saw major growth. Twitch saw major growth. Netflix and all the other stream platforms, yes, right?
But what's important to note to this is those signings did their job. If you look at the numbers pre-signing of those players, right, of those streamers to post, is they did exactly what they needed to do. This isn't a new deal. Mixer knew for a long time that they were not going to be a platform in a year, right? They only signed these people a year ago. Right. Ninja a little bit longer, right? So the whole purpose of this was to increase their viewer hours to make more money when Microsoft sells it off to Facebook. That's all it was. Like why right? Like what other you can't in 10 months, right, say that like, okay, I'm going to sign Goth and then not have a plan and in 10 months sell it, unless that plan was to always sell it. Right. Yeah. So what did you do? You increased your view hours, right? View hours are the only thing that matters to ad revenue. The only thing that matters to someone trying to acquire you. Okay. These guys spiked our view hours. Sick. Now we can sell it off. Why else would they let them out of their contract so quickly? Here's the money from your contract.
And they made the money. Yeah.
We made our money. We made our money. Yeah. Here's your money. See you later.
I think that's more because it wasn't in their contract to be on Facebook or to be anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So like at that point you scoop the money. I think they were Facebook was offering them money as well, but I think they just said like, I'm just going to take all of this now. Why would you? Like why would you not? Right? That's the move. Right. I'll take my 30 million now. I'll take my 10 million now and just go figure out my game plans here.
Yeah. Which figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
I'm going to figure out where I'm going to fucking drink tonight. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to figure that out real quick.
Which one of those streamers is actually going to Facebook?
Goth.
Goth went?
Goth went. Yeah.
I think he already went.
Yeah, he's already streaming
Ninja,
there.
Do you see Ninja going back to Twitch? Because when he left Twitch, they were accidentally playing porn on his channel for like a week.
Well, they did not handle his departure well because it was big news. And then yes, that like weird that inappropriate shit happened on his channel. No, I would put money on it if he goes to YouTube personally.
Because Courage is over on YouTube.
Because Courage is on YouTube, and then he also makes a ton of money from clips on YouTube. Right. I would imagine Shroud goes back to Twitch personally.
I can see that.
Yeah. But who knows? I think Shroud went to Mixer because it was a fucking large ass paycheck, and it didn't matter who followed.
Of course, dude.
Right. So, and I'm someone that I did not watch Shroud at all when he left Twitch, and I watched Shroud almost nightly on Twitch. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter who followed, right? Because he got his paycheck. So why not go back? Why not go back to Twitch? Right? He didn't have some like poor experience with them, to my understanding, like Ninja did. Mm-hmm. But who knows? I mean, Ninja might go back to Twitch because of the exposure. He was a top streamer on that platform, so maybe he does. But with a $30 million payout, why not try YouTube?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I'm with you, Locke, on where I think he's going to go. But I also agree that if I were in his position, I wouldn't be like vindictive about what happened with Twitch. I wouldn't hold that against them. Well, I mean, I might, but I wouldn't let that impact my business decision, and know that like that's where everyone would probably watch me the most because of what I, as Ninja, did to the platform and for the platform.
Correct. Right, but if you think about it, he was comfortable. Again, he was getting millions of dollars regardless of his viewer count and what he was getting from actually being a streamer. He's comfortable going to Mixer, right? So at this point, he's gotten all of the money that he was promised to go to Mixer, all of it, right?
Immediately, a year.
You got. They're all getting their cake and eating it too. So they already got the cake. Why not? There's nothing like he is so big that he could go to YouTube and in 6 months say this isn't worth it. I'm going to go to Twitch.
Of course he could. Yeah,
everyone,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So like for him personally, I think it's a little bit different than Shroud.
For sure.
And for him, I would see that as a logical step because he has a really good friend there that he streams with all the time in Courage, and he makes a ton of money from his YouTube content.
Yep.
Right. So it would make sense for him. But to all, and you know, everyone's talking about these guys, right? And we're talking about them right now, but like to see all of these people, all of these partners that put years of work into becoming into Mixer partners, right? And then just fucking one tweet later being like, okay, I guess I'm a Facebook streamer now, right? Like it's crazy.
Just the idea of that sounds awful to me.
Yeah.
I mean, on Facebook, you have to log in with like your account. Like your first and last name is out there.
Why I hate it. Yeah, you have to be yourself, right? There's no.
Though, it would be lit to have some shithead kid come in your stream and then see their full name and then like DM their mom and be like, "Yo, check this shit out." Like that would be fucking fire. I can get behind that. Not enough to move my stream there, but like I can get behind that vibe. I can appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Were we going to talk about the third thing that happened that's less important than everything else we talked about? This is why I left my stream angry as fuck on Friday.
We're not going to get into it.
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into the copyright music, all that bullshit.
Oh yeah,
not at all.
I mean, I think it's hold on. I think it's fair to talk about, but I don't think we necessarily need to talk about it now because I don't think we'd be able to give it full attention.
No,
okay,
right.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Let me pose a question about the Mixer thing to both you, Trip, and Felix. Trip, how do you feel about your decision like 2 weeks ago to leave Mixer?
Dude, I can't tell you how many friends texted me and were like, "Can you fucking pick some lottery numbers?" Like, dude, how did you fucking know? Like, what? You just fucking left. It's again, just. I mean, I read the room, dude. Just you could read it.
You almost instantly. I was like, "Wow, Trip just left Mixer."
It was 2 weeks of the day.
Yeah,
it was 2 weeks of the day, and like I had been thinking about it for a while. I've been texting people about it, and I was either like, "Let me just hop now," or "Let me stick out the year," because of what might happen in the fall. With the Halo events, with the new consoles, I either do it now or I wait for a year. But like, if nothing grows, I don't see myself being there in 2021. Like that was for sure a thought in my brain, but it was just like the last few months of me figuring out, do I do it now or do I wait the year? And then just the last couple of weeks, I was like, look, the more that I hear, the more that I see happening, just the internal conversations and the week over week activity on the platform, it's just, let me just do it. Let me do it now, and just make the decision, live with it one way or the other, especially with like the push we've been making too with Emergent Gamer. It made a lot of sense with growing our own communities and our own creators that we're bringing closer to us to make content with. I was like, it won't be terrible. Let me just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off, see what happens. I can be sad about my decision if Mixer blows up in 6 months and I wasn't there, even though I said I was going to be there for the past 2 years.
But it was 2 weeks. And then it did blow up.
Right. I didn't blow up the good way.
Not the good
way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and then my question for Felix is, so now that you're no longer a Mitch, you're all in on Twitch now, right? You're going to get that affiliate status back.
I'm telling you, I don't think I want to just exclusively go with Twitch. I don't.
So I am going to publicly say that is a poor decision.
Why?
Because there is fucking no reason to split your base onto another platform and not go all in on it. Personally, I see no benefit No benefit.
I got a YouTube channel just sitting over there doing nothing.
To what Locke, you can put clips on YouTube. To what Locke is saying,
That's a
new
pain in the
streamer-
ass. I would rather stream to it.
Hold on, a new streamer. Again, to Locke's point, a new streamer benefits from restreaming when you don't know where you're getting a response, or you don't know how to handle your content, and you're feeling the water out. You've had years of figuring out who responds to what and where. You can make a decision, and then making a decision is stronger than not making a decision and splitting the fan base and the viewer base. I think that's. I would agree with what Locke is saying, that it's a poor decision.
I do agree. When you focus hard in a platform, then you can hone in what you're doing a lot better.
I mean, the only choice you have, you've already said no to Facebook, meaning the only choice you have is YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's either you're going to stream to both or you're going to stream to one. Right? And I think it's a very easy decision to say, I should just be streaming to Twitch, and I'm going to grow my following on Twitch, and I'm going to be an affiliate, and I'm going to get subs, and I'm going to grow my fan base there. Like, why? I don't logically see the thought process in trying to start scratch on YouTube. For what? For maybe a handful of people that decide to check out your channel on YouTube. Like, in my opinion, you would get those same viewers by actually creating content for YouTube. But listen, I don't stream, so I guess my opinion is only so much.
Here's my motivation. The types of games I like to play almost zero traction on Twitch. People on Twitch want to watch competitive. When? Throughout my time doing it.
That's not true. That's not true. All my followers came from fucking Outlast and came from The Last of Us.
Okay.
So that's bullshit.
In my experience, I get less people watching me when I play story games on Twitch. That's what I get. In my experience. That's your experience. In my experience, less. I feel like if I go all on Twitch, I'm going to have to push myself more towards competitive games. And I don't like it because I don't like playing them.
You do realize that YouTube has a huge competitive presence.
I'm sure.
Like their Overwatch League is on YouTube.
I know.
And they're arguably outdated in terms of how they do directories. So you're going to get buried in a lot of places where there's more organic options now on Twitter.
I don't want to invalidate your opinion because you're right. Your experience is going to be different than mine. But like there's variety streamers that are wildly popular that don't play competitive shooters that are bigger than the competitive shooter category.
Okay. All right.
Right?
Yep.
We can have a whole discussion about this too, Felix, about the whys and why nots. If from like more of a shop talk perspective.
Trav says immediately. Trav goes, "Let me sub to you, Felix." All right.
Yeah. I listen, from that lens, I understand why you're trying to not limit yourself. I do. By saying like, this is my experience. I feel like Mixer, I had more of a growth from the games that I like to play on Mixer than I did on Twitch. And I don't want to invalidate that experience, but that from a viewer of competitive gaming and then seeing top channels, there are variety streamers that do variety extremely well that have a bigger following than some of the best FPS players that play the games. So I think it's about your investment, and I think it's about your brand, and I think it's about who you are as a content creator, not necessarily the platform itself. But
okay.
But you do you, man. I'll subscribe to you on YouTube all day, brother. I'll YouTube you, dude.
Look, I'll be there too.
It's for sure something we can all talk about together if you want off podcast or whatever. It's definitely worth the conversation. And we have plenty of people in our Discord who are experienced and they want to talk about this kind of thing. We have a channel, Shop Talk, that is exclusively designed for this.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. But anyway, what do you guys think about wrapping it up?
I think it's wrap time, baby.
Heck yeah.
Good conversation, everyone. Obviously, we didn't do too much of our getting caught up, but I think this was an important week to kind of focus in and just break it all down for people that may not have known the story. Or if you did, just get some more discussions about it. And of course, the conversation is always going to be living and breathing, and we're not done, I'm sure, hearing about this throughout the week. So pay attention, interact, say what you want to say, tag us, tweet us, all that kind of good stuff. I am Trip Zero. You guys can find me on twitch.tv/TripZeroTV. I stream Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 7 p.m. Currently doing The Last of Us original. I'll be playing that and going right into the sequel. So hop in. It's a good time. Let's go same way we did the beginning. Felix.
Oh yeah, this is Felix Hergood at Felix Hergood on Twitch.
Hello.
And on Twitter. So I always post when I go live. I always post that I'm on Twitter. So definitely check that out. I don't know because of the music thing. I got a little put off, but I'm gonna coordinate and bring myself back together. I just had to figure out how to do the presentation that I do, because I always play music when I'm live. And now, I mean, with my Twitch account, I'm going to have to, scour thousands of clips to figure out which ones have copyrighted songs in. And I got to delete them or something. I don't know. I haven't even caught up to what the fuck.
He's having an anxiety attack right now.
We'll chat about it, Felix.
I've been having an anxiety attack about that for fucking 6 days.
I could tell.
Let's end the show, Felix. You text me, okay? We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I love you. Okay.
I'm Neo Aoshi. You can find me at Neo_Aoshi. Twitch.tv/Neo Aoshi. No underscore there. Finishing The Last of Us 2 on stream. Then I'll probably just play more competitive games like Valorant, Ghost of Tsushima.
Heyo.
Yeah. Luck.
You can follow me on Twitter if you want to see me engage in people's opinions that I disagree with and yell at them and why I don't like them. That would be at @lock_key. Occasionally I may go live to Twitch, not to any other platform, but that would be rare. But just follow me on Twitter. Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
See you next time.
Later.